It's the LucyAnn Lance Show on Ann Arbor's Talk Station, 1290 WLBY. Each week with Damian Farrell from Damian Farrell Design Group, we take a look at design, its impact on our lives. Back with us for the second week in a row, we welcome Neal Boudette, who heads up the Detroit Bureau of the Wall Street Journal. Gentlemen, good to see you.
Thank you very much. Good morning.
We're going to be talking about a particular car designer in just a moment who has either been praised or has...
Vile.
Yeah.
I mean, there's nothing in the middle about Chris Bangle.
And we're going to find out more about Chris Bangle. But I want to ask first Neal Boudette from the Wall Street Journal. Big news this week, General Motors planning a $200 million expansion at that Pontiac plant. Why it's of particular concern to people in Washtenaw County, a lot of the men and women who were out at the Willow Run powertrain plant got moved up there a few years back when they shuttered the Willow Run plant. I know a lot of those people that work up in Pontiac. This was huge news this week.
Oh, it's terrific news, and there will be more of that coming. All three automakers were very, very profitable in 2012. Ford made almost $6 billion, Chrysler almost $2 billion. GM hasn't reported yet, but they're going to be even more than Ford. And this is coming off of 2011, where they had another banner year. So these were maybe two of the best years ever. For two of the best consecutive years for Ford and GM ever, and they've got all this money, and they want to invest it in new vehicles, upgrading their plants, improving engines, and so here we are. We're getting the fruits of that. And I should also mention that the Ford UAW workers are in line for bonuses for the Ford's performance in North America of over $8,000. So
that's incredible.
That's a big chunk of money. You have 20 or 25,000 people in Southeast Michigan getting checks for $8,000.
I think Chrysler was over 2,000. Is that right?
I don't recall off the top of my head what Chrysler was.
Will General Motors give that too then?
Sure. They all pretty much follow the same formula. So if Ford was about 8,000, GM will be in the same range.
And you say GM's poised to make even more money than Ford?
GM made more money in Asia than Ford. Not as much money in North America, but overall they did really well, and they're about the same as Ford. They haven't reported their earnings yet.
Well, good news, huh?
That's
terrific
great news,
for us.
isn't it? Yeah.
All right, design. That plays into all of this too, doesn't it? Because we want those cars to be looking the way we want them to, and the designers are out there, and we've been seeing them with the car show, which just concluded this past weekend. And we talked about that last week with you guys, and what you thought the winners and losers were with those designs. But we're going to take a look at Chris Bangle. First of all, who is Chris Bangle?
Chris Bangle was the BMW design head. He designed for BMW from 92 until 2007, right? 94 till 2007.
He joined the company in 92, was in charge of design from about 2000 to 2007.
So worked on BMW, Mini, Rolls-Royce. Mini, of course, being special to me, BMW being special to you.
That's true, yeah.
But I just backing up 1 second, but what I'm going to be, hopefully we'll do on the show for a little while here, is look at great designers and the impact they've had on our environment. So product, automobile architects, and we're sort of assembling a series. So I hope this will be interesting to our listeners to try to get in the minds, not just about their reputation, but what drove them, what drives them. And I think Chris really stands out because I think he will be an iconic name probably forever in the history of automobile design.
What is he best known for, Neal?
Well, what he did with BMW's look is that in the 90s, it was a fairly conservative type car, not real flashy, but it just had an engineering feel to it. And what he did was he put in a lot of creases and curves. The sheet metal in many places would go from convex to concave, and these very sharp creases in the sheet metal. And what he tried to do was make the cars much more expressive and make them really stand out on the road. And it was part of the idea was that baby boomers coming into the age where they'd have the income to buy luxury cars this is the me generation. They wanted, those are people who wanted a car that says something about their personality. So Chris was given the job of overhauling the look of BMW vehicles and making them extensions of people's personalities.
On one of the YouTube interviews with him, if anyone, there's a one of his quotes is that this car is an avatar, which I thought was great. Another quote that I love is, "Style is engineering that gives you freedom." And when you listen to Chris talking, there's no doubt that there's this deep down frustration about doing business as usual, and that it's to push the absolute limits. And the concept car that he came up with, called the Gina, Gina, is a frame of a car with a fabric cover. And when you listen to that as well, he talks about the fact, what is the skin of a car? Is it the skin that provides the safety? Well, what if the frame of the car provided the safety, and our skin is a fabric? And so literally the car works and drives and runs, and there are 4 pieces to this beautiful Teflon skin that is drawn over what looks almost like sinews. So for instance, the headlights are like an eyelid. They wink when they open. And the doors, there's no visible hinge. They just open like a butterfly. It's the most gorgeous, beautiful thing. And the seats are all one piece of fabric, and the headrest stretches it. And you can actually change the shape of this car by moving the wires, if you will.
Well, you paint a beautiful picture. So what happened in 2002 with the BMW 7 Series?
Oh boy. That's where poor Chris even got a petition that went international to get him out of ruining the BMW line or the design of the...
Yeah,
but
well,
you pick it up from there. But
the 7 Series was, interestingly, unveiled at the 2001 Frankfurt Auto Show, coincidentally, which took place just days after 9/11, and there were a lot of executives in the industry who couldn't get in there, and of course the whole mood of the show was depressed because of the tragedy in New York, and they unveiled the 7 Series, and it was there were a lot of negative reactions to the car, and it just seemed at the time that Chris got off onto a bad start, but really he was ahead of his time, and he was setting the tone there. He was just sort of on the bleeding edge of things, and took the heat for starting a look. And the 7 Series, that 7 Series had a back end with a raised trunk lid, and that was criticized by a lot of BMW fans, and they called that the Bangle butt. And there was an online petition, Stop Chris Bangle, and thousands and thousands of people signed on. And
but you say he was ahead of the curve on this?
oh yeah.
Sure, yeah, because what happened was BMW continued on with that. They did the 7 Series and then the Z4, which is the small roadster, and that's a very flashy looking design. It's marked by kind of a Z-shaped crease on the side panel, and in the middle of it is a BMW emblem. And anyway, so as time went on, by the time we got to 2008, 2009, you started seeing Hyundai, Nissan, Ford,
even Mercedes, I think,
all
to
these
some
other,
extent, right?
yeah, all these other automakers emulating them. And just as we said last week at the Detroit Auto Show, the new Impala from General Motors looks really, really nice, and it's got a Bangle butt
Yeah, it does.
on the back end.
It does. But what that really means is that with the wheel arches, if you want to call it the rear shoulders of the car, are kept down as part of the continuous line right from the front all the way to the back, and then the hood is almost like an independent design element that sits above that.
Right.
And it, it became a verb like Google. And so if people in the auto industry, if someone messed something up, you bangled it.
Yeah.
So he did. He took a big thrashing over that.
Do you think the fact that here's this Midwestern boy, he was from
Midwestern
Wisconsin
guy.
originally.
That's true.
Yeah.
And with this, company, this BMW, I mean, did that play into that at all, or?
I don't know. Chris is as so many designers are, a very artistic guy. He's a very soft-spoken guy. He has this leonine appearance. He's got sort of a mane of sandy blonde hair and a beard and a mustache, and he's not the kind of personality who takes over a room. He's really sort of a modest, very Midwestern in his manners, and I have great respect for him. I think I liked I wasn't crazy about the 7 Series, but I liked the Z4. very much, and the vehicles that came after that, the 5 Series, the 6 Series, the 3 Series, and so on. And I think there are a lot of opinions that have now, a decade later, come around and recognize that, maybe we didn't recognize at the time what we were looking at, and now give Chris a lot of credit.
Neal Boudette, who is the Detroit bureau chief for the Wall Street Journal, Damian Farrell with Damian Farrell Design Group, a local architect here in Ann Arbor, and his regular segment on the LucyAnn Land Show, Damian on Design. I've never had anyone answer this question adequately, in my estimation.